It's the Fairway Times podcast presented by Wild Goat. Somewhere around hole 12, golf turns into a different sport. The body's still there, but the brain is suddenly checking emails, replaying that trip on 7, and wondering what's for dinner. And that's the problem, because most golfers don't lose the round from a bad swing. They lose it when their attention wavers. Some people try and fix that with coffee or an energy drink, which is bold because nothing says commit to this delicate wedge shot like a racing heartbeat and trembling hands. That's where Wild Goat comes in. Their Focus Plus Hydration Gummy was built for golf, not for deadlifts, not for your wife's spin class, and not for people named Chad doing burpees in the parking lot, specifically for golf. It's got alpha GPC and cognizin to help keep your mind sharp, a dialed-in amount of caffeine plus L-theanine for smooth, steady energy, and electrolytes to help you stay hydrated and locked in through all 18 holes. So instead of feeling fried by the back nine, you actually feel present, calm, and clear, like a person who might finally make a good decision with a club in their hand. Go to getwildgoat.com and use code FairwayTimes10 for 10% off your entire order. That's getwildgoat.com. And now, before your focus drifts too, let's get into the show.
Waited for years. Many doubted we'd ever see it. But here it is. The return to glory.
This is the Fairway Times. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fairway Times podcast. It is Thursday, April 23rd. We have an action-packed show for you today. We are going to talk about RBC heritage. We're going to talk about Matt Fitzpatrick going on an absolute tear, playing the best golf of his life. Then we're going to talk some other sports, right? Golf is slowing down a little bit until we talk Shinnecock in a bit when golf talk will ramp back up. So we're going to talk a little MLB today. We're going to talk some NBA playoffs as well. So super excited to have you guys with us. So let's jump right in and talk about Hilton Head, RBC Heritage, Max Fitzpatrick versus Scotty Scheffler in the playoff. And, first I want to start with Scotty Scheffler. His game's starting to trend. We talked about this at Augusta, 2 straight runner-up finishes. I feel like another major at this point is just inevitable. And for Fitzpatrick, it's kind of becoming clearer. So I looked this up because I wanted to know how many times someone had won at Hilton Head twice. And that has happened 11 times. So I wanted to anoint Matt Fitzpatrick as the quote unquote GOAT of Hilton Head, but I can't do that yet. But the guy just likes playing there. I remember when he won a couple years ago, the storylines of him, going there as a kid, always wanting to win there. Just super cool. I am just so excited for him and so happy for him because he's just such a good guy and he's very, very easy to root for. So as we talk about, going into the playoff hole, it just kind of felt like Scotty Scheffler was about to be Scotty Scheffler and it was about to be inevitable. Right? Fitzy entered that final round with a 3-stroke lead and all of a sudden Scheffler's just there. And Scheffler just makes up those strokes in the final 4 holes, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And Fitzy bogeys the 72nd hole to force the playoff. So it just felt like all the momentum was with Scotty. And then all of a sudden, Fitzpatrick has 204 yards, and the guy hits 4-iron to like 12 feet to beat. And it was just like an unbelievable shot that quieted the crowd. And when asked about it after, Fitzy kind of compared the win to the first time he won there, which is when he beat Spieth, which is just like these holes at Hilton Head are, in his words, a brute, right? So it was just congrats to Matty Fitz. We don't need to do a what's in the bag because we just did it 2 weeks ago when he won, or 3 weeks ago, when he won. I think he still has 10-year-old irons in the bag. So good for him. Just some other notables. that we can talk about. Colin Morikawa tied for 4th. So just kind of a strong showing out of him. I know at the Masters, there was a lot of reports that he just was not healthy. And so I think it's just kind of like he's getting back into the form. It's clear his back now is just feeling a lot better. And I think he's definitely a contender to win another major this year. This was Harbor Town, kind of like they had a renovation go on. And so it was cool to see kind of like a christening, if you will, with a playoff. I thought that was just super neat. So yeah, I think it's clear that Scheffler's going to get a win here soon. And his game just looks really good. It keeps starting too late. And I'm not really sure why that is. I'm used to kind of these Scheffler matches where it's just like he dominates from start to finish in a tournament, and he's the best player from the first hole to the 72nd, and we just haven't seen that lately. So we kind of talked about this briefly last time on last week's show, which is just it's really hard to kind of turn it on late on Saturday with leads that are just almost insurmountable by other guys that have played lights out. And what's funny is he's taking these guys into playoffs or taking them to the 72nd hole, which just shows that he is still truly the best player in the world. So, yeah, as we kind of look forward, just super excited to kind of as we make a transition to some other smaller tournaments. But we're definitely going to cover Shinnecock a lot. So excited to get into that. Next, I want to talk baseball, guys. So for those of you that listen to this podcast that don't know, I grew up playing baseball. I played at the collegiate level. It has a place in my heart that is very special. And after I finished college baseball, I kind of needed to take a break from baseball. And I didn't ever really stop following it, but I did stop watching it for a little bit because I was just kind of burnt out on the game. And now I feel like I'm at a place where I really want to dive back in. Growing up in Northern California, I mean, I was 10 years old in 2010. So the San Francisco Giants winning those 3 rings, I will always be a San Francisco Giants guy. And that's kind of the first storyline I really want to hit on, which is the Tony V experiment and how's it going. So currently, as we sit right now, Landon Root pitched absolutely lights out to beat the Dodgers last night. But as of right now, the Giants are 10-13, and they are 6 games back of the Dodgers and San Diego Padres, who are both 16-7. Which shout out to the Padres for making a push lately. And so the thing that is really interesting, so for those of you that don't know, Tony Vitello is the first manager in baseball history without any professional coaching experience. He is straight out of the University of Tennessee, where he won the 2024 College Baseball World Series. And I think this could be just an adjustment period. I have been very open and almost a bit annoyed with how he speaks to the media, but I don't think it's quite a reflection yet on his coaching abilities. So let me give you an example. About a week and a half ago, he made the comment to the media that like there's already been some scuffles in the locker room. Like, to me, when you're a big league manager, like that just needs to stay in house, man. Like if it's you or if 2 guys are going at each other, it's just not a good look. So that just kind of needs to be shut down. And in college, that's just not really a concern, right? That might be happening with guys, but it's college baseball, so it's just different. And I don't think he really knows that yet. And honestly, I think the San Francisco Giants maybe need to invest in some media training for this guy, because and just tell him, hey, you can absolutely be yourself around the guys. We've hired you because we want to fire up the team. We want guys to feel like they can come to you as a player's coach, that you're going to battle for them. But when you're talking to the media, like, we need to be a little more buttoned up. So I think that's just something to hit on. The other thing is, I think he was just thrown into the fire like as soon as possible. Like opening night on Netflix against the Yankees, like Aaron Judge, it's just a lot. And it honestly just looked like he just kind of was, the moment was too big for him. And I think that just comes with time. And a lot of these guys that are managers, right, they not only played in the big leagues, but then they've coached in the minor leagues or in the big leagues for 25 plus years. So they know this routine versus Vitello, who's just getting to know these guys. When I was listening to Dallas Braden talk about this, who former pitcher on the Oakland A's, pitched a perfect game on Mother's Day. That's really what he's well known for. And he really talks about that in pro ball, most of the managers that are hired, no matter what, as a player, you know them just because there's so much overlap in the minor leagues of, oh, back then he was my bench coach for an entire year. And so coming up through an organization, you're just comfortable with these guys. And Tony V was just starting directly from scratch. I think there is another possibility, which which is Buster Posey maybe knew that this roster was not good enough to make a wild card, because at this point, I feel like the San Francisco Giants are competing for a wild card every year for the foreseeable future, because the Dodgers are just going to outspend everybody in every regard. And that's fine, right? The Giants honestly probably have the money to do that. They just choose not to. So that's on them. With that being said, you're competing for a wild card then. You're not competing for a division. So to me, is this a move where Buster Posey needed a potential fall guy? And I don't think so. I don't think Buster thinks that way. I don't think he operates that way. I think he makes hires to win. But I think he also knows that this roster is just probably not up to par. To me, this roster is not, of course it's not better than the Dodgers, because no one's roster is better than the Dodgers. I don't think it's better than the Padres. And I think if you look at Arizona, it's pretty close. And Arizona has a bona fide superstar in Corbin Carroll, which I guess Rafael Devers was supposed to be that for us, but currently it just hasn't been great. And so, I think at best we're fighting to be the third or fourth team in the division. And if the season goes really bad, right, Tony V can be the fall guy, the experiment fails, and Buster Posey, still has his job and nothing's hot. But the other thing that crosses my mind is Buster Posey's came in and made an immediate splash, right? Like going after Devers, trading for him, absorbing $300 million of his contract. Signing Willy Adames to a record deal. Like, he's going out and making moves. Going and getting Luis Ariz, which I don't think was it felt like a great right fit move, but at least as, since the last World Series in 2014, the Giants have really done nothing. So at least it's making me feel a little something that we're kind of progressing, I guess. Luckily, I was getting worried there through the first 12 games. Sitting last in the NL West just felt really bad behind the Rockies. But the bottom line is this. So as a Giants, as a guy who's watched a lot of Giants baseballs for a lot of years, I think that I'm just confused why in the Giants organization, we know the formula, which is we can talk about Bryce Elder all we want and if he's going to be this guy. We can talk about if Devers is going to find his stride in San Francisco and be the guy he was in Boston. The bottom line is this. It's very hard to have a top 5 offense in San Francisco. That ballpark is big. It's difficult. Barry is an exception, but an average left-handed hitter in San Francisco is going to hit less home runs than other ballparks because that wall is so big. Triples Alley is very, very deep. There are very few dudes who can get it out of Triples Alley and hit it all the way back there and high enough. So the bottom line is this. Why do we not just build a top 4 or 5 staff every single year in baseball? It doesn't make any sense to me, because just like how I explained that, it also works the opposite way. Teams are not generating the offense that they are. Arizona is not generating the offense in Oracle that they are at Chase Field. So I think there's just a lot to say, which is let's just invest our money in pitching and then just put a top 15 product out on the field for offense. And I think it takes care of itself. And we literally learned that through the World Series runs with Kane, Lincecum, and Bumgarner. Just let those guys carry you. And then they found other great pieces, right? They got insanely high leverage innings from Jake Peavy back then, insanely high leverage from Ryan Vogelsong. Like, we could find those pieces. And when the Giants were really, I guess, operating on full cylinder strength, in my opinion, in recent memory, it was when Gossman and Rodon were there. And we let both those guys go, which I was very, very bummed out about, especially considering now the way that Gossman's career has gone, which is the guy is just, in every word, an ace. And we could have had that with Logan Webb, with Rodon, with Landon Roop. So it's a hard pill for me to swallow. But going forward, I think if truly, and I will say this one last time, if the Giants want to be competitive and have a chance at the wild card spot, they need to go all in on pitching. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies. So the Phillies currently sit at 8-15. They're 8 games back of Atlanta in the NL East. And, that division's just kind of been a head scratcher, honestly. So Atlanta's at the top, which we kind of all knew they were going to be good. But then we have Miami, Washington, which we thought both those teams were kind of just going to be throwaways. And then Philadelphia, and there's a lot of people that had the Mets in the World Series who are sitting 9 games out of first place in last in their division. But I want to focus on the Phillies for a second because I just have wanted this team to be good for so long. And they just can't get over the hump. And now I'm kind of feeling like the window is closing, and it just kind of bums me out because, I want Bryce Harper to bring a ring to Philadelphia. My dad growing up always told me that I needed an AL team and an NL team to root for, so I am an Angels fan as well. I live in Southern California, grew up in Northern California, so it makes sense. My dream was to always see Bryce Harper and Mike Trout together in Philadelphia, where Trout is from, bringing a ring to that city. And I'm not even a Phillies fan. I just think that the Phillies are a cool team, right? Like growing up, Doc Halladay was just this larger than life pitching figure to me. And as a pitcher, I looked up to him and Lincecum. So it's just the offense is broken, right? Like this year, only 3 teams in the MLB have scored fewer runs than the Philadelphia Phillies. And there's some bad teams, right? Like there are just bad baseball teams, and Philadelphia is not one of them. They're all-stars from almost top to bottom. They're being outscored by 38 runs on the season and have been shut out 3 times already. They've scored 3 or fewer runs in 11 of 21 games, right? So, like, these guys that we're relying on, let me just go down the list here a little bit. Alec Bohm, 145. Bryson Stott has basically been relegated to platoon. If those guys can kind of collectively turn around, it would do wonders for a sputtering offense that's basically just Schwarber and Harper at this point. The rotation, also an issue. Taijuan Walker, 9.16 ERA through 4 starts. Zach Wheeler on the IL with the shoulder issue still. So it's just like, I know his return is expected soon. I think Zach Wheeler is one of the most underrated pitchers to honestly ever play the game of baseball, which is crazy to say, but like this guy in a lot of other eras might have had 2 or 3 Cy Young awards. And for him to go out like this, it just doesn't feel right to me. And last year, if he doesn't go out, to me, they were one of the World Series favorites. So it's just a bummer. I want him to return back. I want that team to be good. Once again, is this a slow start or is the window closing? I think the window could be closing. I think it's too early to say that Rob Thompson should be nervous for his job. I don't think we're there yet, but they have a lot of ground to make up. I mean, Atlanta seems like a legitimately good baseball team. Like they are returning to what we thought the Atlanta dynasty was going to be like 3 or 4 years ago with all the young guys. And Acuna isn't even firing on all cylinders yet. So when that happens, like him and Albies together can just carry that team with Austin Riley. But I mean, 8 games. I know it's early in the year, but 8 games is a lot. And once you bury yourself in that hole, I mean, the way Miami looks as well. I don't know. I don't know. So just kind of I think it's just something to note. I want to talk about the Dodgers. I grew up hating the Dodgers. I still hate the Dodgers, but if I'm talking baseball, we have to talk about them. As most of you know, Game 7, they won. Basically, the Blue Jays handed them a World Series in the final pitches of Game 7, becoming the first repeat champions since one of those Yankees teams. And a three-peat hasn't happened since the 2000 New York Yankees. Before that, only the Yankees and the Athletics had ever done it. I mean, look, in the offseason, they went and got Kyle Tucker, which seemed insane. I'm super high on Kyle Tucker. I think he's one of the best players in the league when he's right. I thought last year was a fluke. I think something was definitely wrong with his wrist, which I know they came out and said, but they were still playing him. And it seems like it's paying off. Edwin Diaz is already hurt. The rumor mill I am currently hearing is that there is a possibility that the Dodgers could go get Mason Miller at the deadline. Now, the way that the Padres are playing, I don't think that will happen. If the Padres keep going at this clip where they're going to compete with the Dodgers for first place, Mason Miller's not going to move. But if the Padres slip and they don't buy the break and they don't have a chance to make a wild card push by the break, and Arizona and the Giants are, already surpassed them and they go on a bad streak. If you're the Padres, I just want to put this into perspective. You could rebuild a decent amount of your farm system with Mason Miller. Like, the Dodgers at this point, I feel like we may be in almost like F-it mode, which is we're going for a three-peat no matter what. We're at the point for the first time where maybe we don't care about the strength of our farm system because all that matters is getting a three-peat. And there is the other side to that, which is we're starting to get a little bit concerned with the ages of all the Dodgers superstars, right? Freddie Freeman is 36, Mookie Betts is 33, Teoscar Hernandez is 33, Max Muncy is 35, Miguel Rojas is 36. And their position group is some of the oldest in baseball. So we're going to see over the next couple of years really how that starts panning out, I guess. And the rotation is still a risk, right? Tyler Glasnow's never made more than 22 starts in a season. Blake Snell rarely stays healthy. Roki Sasaki had to be limited last year, right? Yamamoto is probably really the only big-time sure thing who proved that he can be a horse in the biggest moments. Now, that being said, when they are all healthy, this is the best team, and it's not even close. I'm just interested to see how it holds together this year for 162 games, and if at the break we are going to see some massive moves to be made to bolster it even more. Kind of some other early MLB threads worth watching. The Yankees kind of are starting to dominate, guys. So they are 15-9 currently. They are on a 5-game winning streak, and they just look good. I mean, they're at a plus 35 run differential, which is absolutely insane this early in the season. I mean, we saw the insane matchup between Judge and Trout absolutely trading blows. I think Judge had 4 home runs in the series and Trout had 5, which is just unfathomable for a single series. But this seems like we're starting to see some bully behavior from the New York Yankees. And I think it's never if the Yankees are in the dance. They're always going to be in the dance. But can they get deep in the dance? What does the pitching staff look like? I mean, once again, they're 15-9 and they don't even have Garrett Cole back yet. I mean, the rotation is just absurd. I think Schittler might be for real. Like, just this team could be really, really special. Just some other notes I wanted to touch on, guys. Guardians are kind of doing what they do, which is they're just going to take the Central. Minnesota made a fun run really quick. I don't think the Twins are actually for real good. Texas 12-11 in the AL West. That, I think, truly the AL West is kind of anyone's ball game. Houston is 10-16 sitting in last place, and Seattle's 11-15 sitting in second to last. I don't think that's going to be for 162. I think they're going to find their stride. I think the Athletics, as much as I like them, as much as the young core is super duper fun, I just don't think it's going to last a whole season, unfortunately. So I think we're going to see Seattle and Houston and Texas really, really battling. Just some other notes that I think are interesting. The NL Central is pretty much shaping up to potentially be the best division in baseball. Milwaukee is currently in last place, 2 games out, and they're 13-10, which is insane. Like, to be 3 games over 500 and to be in last place in your own division is insane. The Pirates, they're going to be competitive with Skeens, with Bubba, when Jared comes back. And I think there's also a fun conversation to be had, which is like, when everybody is healthy, let's talk about that rotation a little bit. So Pittsburgh is building a very, very interesting young core. So Braxton Ashcraft has this guy's becoming just an absolute stud on the mound this year. I mean, the guy's been unbelievable. So Braxton Ashcraft, Bubba Chandler, who we hope can figure it out. He's shown flashes that the guy can be an ace. Mitch Keller, obviously just been a guy for a long time. That's just a good solid pitcher. He's going to give you a 3.69 every year. Obviously, Paul Skeens, the best pitcher in baseball. They have Gregory Soto, MLB The Show legend, for those of you that played. But they're also going to have Seth Hernandez, which eventually, and I don't know how his development is coming along, but I recently just watched a video of him throwing in the minor leagues, and he looked disgusting. It was like he hit 103. This is the kid that just got drafted out of Corona High School, that was throwing triple digits. Those 4 dudes are going to be a problem in that division. So I think that's just kind of something fun to watch. The Cubs, they're rolling. I think that team's really good. And the Cincinnati Reds are absolutely balling out in first place, 16-9. And that roster, by the way, is not even at full health yet because Hunter Green is still hurt. So, we're not even seeing the best version of this team. But they have some fun young pitchers, Chase Burns and Rhett Lauder. I mean, Chase Burns, former, I think Burns was a transfer at Tennessee. Was he a Tennessee transfer? I know he threw for Tennessee, but then I can't remember if he threw for Wake Forest also. Rhett Lauder, Wake Forest, him and Skeens going back and forth in the College World Series. They got Brady Singer, Connor Phillips, just a super, super fun roster and something to watch. With that being said, guys, that kind of wraps up baseball talk. We're going to talk a little NBA since we are deep into the playoffs. But before we do, I would like to take a second to thank our sponsor, the Fairway Times website, right? Our publication, fwytimes.com, guys. We write about all kinds of topics in golf, and when you subscribe, you're not going to get any junk mail. You're just going to get the articles delivered right to your inbox to read. I try and get 2 to 3 out of those a week, just depending on how busy I am with the podcast, with my other commitments, and honestly, how much golf I'm playing myself. So go subscribe. You also when you subscribe, you get a free mental performance golf guide, which just is going to help you shoot lower scores, and it's 100% for free. So once again, head to fwytimes.com and subscribe. All right, guys, NBA. Playoffs started a couple days ago, and we are underway. And I think the big talk for just kind of a bit of it was the Boston Celtics were going to roll over the 76ers. And it happened to the first game. It looked like we were going business as usual. And then Maxey happened. And Tyrese Maxey was an absolute force in game 2. And led them all the way back. They won 111-97, a 32-point swing between games. I think VJ Edgecombe like dropped 30. Let me look at that up to confirm for you guys, but it was just disgusting. I think Boston is still the better team. I don't think Tatum is at full strength, at like the peak of his powers. Jalen still looked unbelievable. I think he dropped 35 in their loss. Tatum had 19. So I think this team is Missoula has a very interesting task, which is like, how does this all play out? Because Tatum is obviously the alpha. I think Tatum is the better overall player, the more talented player. But this year, Jaylen Brown is the alpha. It's been his team while Tatum's been hurt. So how is Missoula really going to manage that and that relationship, I guess? I'm really, really interested to see that. Let's talk Knicks versus Hawks. Knicks won game 1, 113 to 102. Atlanta came back to steal game 2, 107 to 106. The Knicks blew a 12-point fourth quarter deficit that kind of just like MSG just went absolutely quiet. I mean, look, I think at the end of the day for me, I saw a lot of articles that were written about like, is New York mentally tough enough to go into Atlanta and dominate and really grind it out? Of course they are. Like, if we're talking about mentally tough players, they have the number one mentally tough superstar in the league, which is Brunson, right? Brunson is not going to let them lose. We've seen time and time again him put that team on his back. And as a smaller guy, be the heart and soul and the best player all at once, which usually does not happen. So I think it's just a really, really fun series to watch. I think we could be kind of on the collision course we all thought, which is Knicks versus Celtics potentially. So, I mean, look, I still think the Celtics are the best team in the East, but the New York Knicks, I think, are the most fun. So, yeah, prediction, I think the Knicks absolutely wreck them. Cavaliers versus the Raptors. Cleveland's rolling. They took both games, not a surprise. Cleveland looks probably like the most dangerous 4 seed in the bracket. Donovan Mitchell already has 62 playoff points, absolutely locked in, and Toronto's in real trouble. The question is, can they just steal one at home and extend this? Probably not. We'll see what happens. I am currently recording this on Wednesday, but you are listening to this on Thursday, so this might be out of date. But you know, Donovan Mitchell is the best player on the floor in that series, and that's proven to be true. As we head into the Western Conference, let's talk about OKC versus Phoenix. Thunder have been the best team in the league. They've been the best team in the league for the past 2 years, and they are just kind of proving that time and time again. Game 2, I think, is just about to tip off right as we're recording this. Does it even matter? Probably not. Shea is the MVP this year, and it's just that team is just so good, so young. And there was some podcast last year that said after the Thunder won, Big Cat had a very interesting comment, which was, is this the worst the Thunder are going to be? And they had just won the NBA title. And I think that conversation now is really, really interesting because it's just SGA and Jalen Williams are just nightmare matchups. And this team is just unbelievable. And it's pretty hard to not see them in the finals in some regard, unless Jokic has something to say about it. San Antonio versus the Trailblazers. San Antonio pretty much dominated game 1, 111 to 98. Trailblazers stole game 2. But the biggest news, guys, is Wembanyama has entered the concussion protocol after a nasty fall. And we are still pretty uncertain of his availability for game 3 and 4. And Portland closed game 2 on a 16-4 run in the final 5 minutes without Wemby on the floor. So, I mean, Scoot Henderson, we kind of forgot about this guy. Like, this was the number 2 overall pick, and the dude's dropping 31 in a playoff game. So, I mean, without Wemby, I don't I'm not really sure what this team looks like. They might be able to scoop by Portland, but Portland is like the definition of like what a feisty team is, and a team that if you're not at full strength, you just don't want to see because you can screw around and lose. It's the team where, if you ever played youth sports and all the coaches and parents are yelling at you, like you let that team hang around long enough, it's going to come back to bite you. That's how I feel about the Portland Trailblazers. And good for Scoot Henderson. There's so many people that wrote him off, including me. I completely forgot about the guy. But at the end of the day, you know what Scoot Henderson's traits I like when we were really talking about his prospect profile, it was the guy is just a competitor. He's not going to let his team lose. He loves the game of basketball. He's a gym rat. And, we all kind of wrote him off because I think his talent may have not needed to be where it was at that time. But now it's shining through that he had a year to really put in a ton of work on his game. And honestly, like this guy should just be watching Jalen Brunson the way he plays. And I hope that's what he's doing because that's what I see kind of his peak could be, which is really, really cool. Let's talk Nuggets versus Minnesota. Nuggets as a 3 seed, man. This was a tough first round pull for Denver. And it's something where, pulling Ant as a 6 seed is just difficult, right? A top 5 player in the NBA. Jokic, by all accounts, is the first or second best player in the NBA, depending on really who you talk to. The thing I worry about is I think the Denver Nuggets are the better team. The thing about it is that these two teams, this is one of the matchups where it might not matter because whoever comes out of this is going to be just so beaten up and battered and bruised that the next round could be absolutely shocked. Denver had basically the quietest. Denver basically had Jokic had basically one of the quietest triple doubles ever. It was like 25, 11, and 13, I think. And everyone was like, "Oh, Rudy Gobert bottled them up." And I'm like, "How?" So currently, guys, series is tied. Nuggets took game 1, 116-105. And on Monday night, the T-Wolves took care of business. And Jokic, just for the people interested, Jokic had 24 and Ant had 30. So, yeah, I mean, this is just going to go back and forth. And I think maybe the team that comes out of it may be too battered. Los Angeles Lakers versus the Houston Rockets. So Lakers took game 1, 107-98, and game 2, 101-94. LeBron finished game 2 with 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists, and leads all playoff assisters with 20. Kevin Durant returned for game 2 after missing game 1 with a sore knee and dropped 23, but also had 9 turnovers. So Houston really now has to protect home court in games 3 and 4. And can the Lakers really make a run here? I mean, LeBron, 41 years old, it's just genuinely remarkable, and I don't even really like LeBron that much. By the way, go peep the LeBron Bob Does Sports video. It's really, really funny watching that guy swing a golf club and super entertaining. And it's clear that after he retires, he has the bug. He's going to be an absolute golf nut, which actually makes me like LeBron a little bit more since I've notoriously been a outspoken MJ guy. But yeah, so I think the question is is Kevin Durant going to be kind of in full form here? And taking a look at it, it's like he might just get there too late from the sore knee. It was like a random scratch, and I don't think they wanted the Lakers to know that he wasn't going to play. I mean, Şengün dropped 20. Amen dropped 16. Like, this Rockets team is honestly really, really good. I think, Marcus Smart having 25 is so random. Luke Kennard stepped up, dropped 23 in game 2. So, look, I think the Lakers can make a little run here. I think the problem is in the West, you're either going to run into 3 quote-unquote buzzsaws, which is the Timberwolves are way, way tougher than the Lakers. Okay, even if Luka does come back. OKC is the best team in the league by far, and it's not even close. Or you could run into Jokic, who is, by all accounts, the first or second best player in the NBA any given year. So I really don't think it matters too much there. But that's just kind of something to watch. Not going to cover hockey playoffs, guys. I just don't know much about hockey. I don't know how to break it down. I really enjoy going to Anaheim Ducks games here in Orange County, California. But yeah, for all of you hockey nuts out there, for all of you puck fans, get after it. I guess if the Ducks are still in it, go Ducks. If not, shout out to my boy Cam, who's a diehard Bruins fan. Go Bruins. So just to kind of wrap everything up, our biggest takeaways here. Fitzpatrick won on one of the biggest stages again, and he is someone to watch heading into the majors, headed into the majors this year, and he's playing at an unbelievable level. And it's also becoming very, very interesting about being a club free agent, someone that does not have an equipment manufacturer, actually give you an advantage because you can truly play what you want to play. Does Scotty Scheffler actually want to play a Quantum or a new Ping? Just something to think about. Phillies might be in real trouble. Let's really watch some of their games if you're a baseball fan, and leave some comments here on Spotify, YouTube, or Instagram, and just talk to us. What's going on with that team? Dodgers quietly chasing history again, and an NBA first round that's already kind of given us some fun upsets and career performances. And I hope that Wemby can come back because I think he truly has a chance to be someone generational, and it's very, very rare besides LeBron that somebody is that highly touted at such a young age, gets drafted 1-1 overall, and actually delivers. And this guy's doing it. And a lot of people are saying, like, he's got the most talented body and tools ever to play the game, but he also has the mentality of Kobe and Michael Jordan, which could be a extremely scary combo, but he's shown that that's true. So let's hope he can get out of concussion protocol so we can kind of get the show put on. Next week, we're going to be doing the same thing, guys, just recapping a bunch of stuff. We're going to be talking probably more golf. We might do we're probably going to do some golf mental performance stuff. So stay tuned for that. And we're going to try to get some fun guests, guys. I can't tease it because I'm really excited, but we're going to get some fun guests on. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Like to hit bombs. I do. There's a lot more to winning than just, hitting bombs.
You saw him dropping all kinds of bombs off the tee. I mean, just hellacious bombs.
I have to have the ability to hit bombs. We talk about it. You got to hit it long out here. Hit bombs. Todd, when I stop hitting bombs, I'll play the Champions Tour, but I'm hitting some crazy bombs.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Remember to hit bombs, and I will see you next time.